Now, let's debate Mitt Romney's slam-down speech last night that everyone is still talking about. Brad Woodhouse, Communications Director at the Democratic National Committee, and his counterpart at the Republican National Committee, Sean Spicer. Welcome, gentlemen. Brad Woodhouse, this was a slam-down speech. You know that, and I want to get some reaction. It's still about the economy, Mr. Romney said, and we're not stupid. That's a direct play off of Bill Clinton, a slam-down on Obama. How's your man going to get around that?
Well, let me say this, Larry. I think what everybody recognizes, or people should recognize, would be stupid, would be to go back to doing the things that we were doing in 07 and 08 under Bush that got us into this mess. And that's exactly what Mitt Romney wants to do. Now, Larry, let me say this.
What's that have to do? Just let me ask you to clarify.
Sure.
I know you're blaming Bush. Obama blames Bush. 07, 08 was a financial crisis. I have no idea what Mitt Romney had to do with that financial crisis. That's the part I don't get. I know you guys like to blame. Mitt Romney is running for president. George W. Bush is retired.
Well, no, I will answer that question, Larry, for you. What Mitt Romney wants to do is go back to those policies. He said, for example, that he'd repeal Wall Street reform, the very reforms that were put in place to try to prevent another financial crisis. He wants to extend the Bush tax cuts for the wealthy and then add more on top of them, ballooning our deficits
just so we're clear,
more.
those are the same Bush tax cuts that President Obama has continued twice. So you want to talk about continuing Bush policies, you guys are doing a great job over there.
Well, but as you know, Sean, Mitt Romney wants to pass more tax cuts on top of the Bush tax cuts. He wants to cut rates even more for the wealthiest Americans.
Let's look at your record.
And he wants to borrow money from China to do it. Mitt Romney's famous of saying, Larry, that we shouldn't borrow money from China to do things that we shouldn't be doing. He wants to borrow money from China to keep his own tax rate low.
Right.
His own tax rate.
Larry, let's get into let's stop debating the Bush administration.
Did you have a question for Sean?
Let's start, but no, Brad, because if you're going to talk about the Bush administration, let's get to the facts. One, you extended the tax cuts twice under President Obama, so they're your policies. Two, you got the U.S. downgraded for the first time ever. The United States credit rating was down. Three, in 2007, the president said that it was unpatriotic to add $4.6 trillion of debt during 8 years of Bush's tenure. You've now added more in 3 years under President Obama. So if it was unpatriotic then over an 8-year period, and you've been able to do more of it in 3, that's a fourth,
Well, I'm glad, Sean,
fourth,
you
when
don't
you talk
have
about the economy and you talk about the 700,000 people that are out of work.
Romney.
Oh, one at a time. One at a time. All right, go ahead, Brad Woodhouse. Can I just ask you this? Another slam-down line last night. Because he has failed, he will run a campaign of diversions, distractions, and distortions. That kind of campaign may have worked at another place in a different time, but not here and now. Now, your man doesn't have his own policies. All he does is slam. He slams Paul Ryan. He slams Mitt Romney. He slams the Supreme Court. You know what I'm getting at. It's a very negative campaign. I don't think that's going to work, and I think Romney challenged him on that last night very effectively.
Well, look, Larry, it's working so far. The president's ahead. He was up 50. He had 50% today in the polls. He was up 49 to 45 over Romney. He's up in the battleground states. So I don't know what you're saying won't work. What won't work is going back to the policies that failed us before. Mitt Romney has run as an economic wonderkin. Larry, what's he proposing that's different?
All right, let's talk about policies of failure.
I'm going to let Sean
look at the last 3 years.
Anything that's different.
I'm going to let Sean go ahead. Go ahead,
okay,
Sean.
So if we want to talk about policies and failure, let's look at the last 3 years. The debt and deficit are out of control. The economy, unemployment, 8.2%. We still have 750,000 more people unemployed than the day that the president took office. Grocery prices are up, energy costs are up, health care costs, college tuition's up. I don't know what's going in the right direction. And you've got projects like Keystone out there that a majority in the House and even a democratically controlled Senate want to pass, and this president is saying no to a job like Keystone. That's thousands of U.S. jobs.
Sean, if Mitt Romney wants to compare economic records, we're happy to talk about him finishing 47th out of 50 in jobs in Massachusetts.
Mitt Romney, let's talk about Mitt Romney. He created more jobs in Massachusetts when he was governor than you've created the entire United States.
First of all, that's not true. But second
yes,
of all,
it is.
Mitt Romney last night, he's given this speech, pivot speech, Larry, to the general election, didn't mention a word about being governor of Massachusetts. And why is that?
Because
he was a failure as governor of Massachusetts.
He's not running for governor of Massachusetts, and he wasn't
has to
president
run on a record. You're saying that
okay, so Brad, let's talk about your record.
You're saying
stop talking about Mitt
record.
Romney and talk about President Obama.
Sean,
when are you going to talk about your own record?
I don't know why you're unhinged. We've created 4.1 million private. You're unhinged. We've created 4.1 million private sector jobs over the past 25 months. And you may want to ignore that, but it's a fact. And Mitt Romney, when he was governor of Massachusetts, where did he create jobs?
All right, Sean Spicer, I got to give you the last word. You guys are great, but let me give you the last word.
If this is going to be a record about the failed policies, these guys are leading the charge. I think most Americans know that this economy is not headed in the right direction. The debt and deficit are out of control, and we need a leader who is going to put us back on track and put America back to work.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Son.
It's always a pleasure to have you. I hope you come back soon. Brad Woodhouse, Democratic National Committee. Sean Spicer, Republican National Committee. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
All right.